Olá, sejam bem-vindos a mais um AgroAmérica, programa produzido em parceria com o Instituto Interamericano de Cooperação para a Agricultura, o ICA, aqui no canal AgroMais. Aqui falamos sobre boas práticas agrícolas que podem ser reproduzidas nos 34 países membros, estados-membros, em prol da segurança alimentar e bem-estar rural. Aqui, direto da Costa Rica, eu vou falar com o ministro de Estado-Geral para Agricultura e senador eleito na Grenada, o senhor Adrian Thomas. Minister, thank you so much for your participation here.
Thank you for accommodating me, and it's nice meeting you and nice talking to you.
Yes, it's a wonderful opportunity to have you here. I know that you were in Brazil recently as well.
Yes, and I don't know why I didn't meet you in Brazil. But I have the opportunity to meet you in Costa Rica, and the important thing is that we have met and we have established a relationship now, so you can call me for more interviews.
Yes, certainly. Well, talking about relationship, I think Grenada and Brazil have so much in common. And we're not that far away. We share the tradition of having a wonderful carnival now in our countries, which are very different in different times of the year. We have populations that have the same, let's say, taste for the same kind of food. We have a lot to share, but yet we are very distant from each other. I'd like to know what is the current state of agriculture today in Grenada, given that we are countries that share tropical agriculture. Grenada is today one of the leading countries with a robust tourism economy in the Caribbean, with a lot to share with the world, and with agriculture that is also growing. Is that correct?
Great, of course, you're quite correct on that. But before I go into the main question, let me raise the point how much Grenadians are attached to the Brazilians. Whenever the World Cup is in occur, Grenadians support Brazil as the number one.
Yeah.
And all over the place, everybody will cease and desist from doing anything else and get into the football business. So we do appreciate that. And the Brazil Carnival is something that we can affiliate ourselves to. We have a nice carnival too. Brazil, it's big in Brazil, but it's not that big in Grenada per se. But we are nice, and Spice Mars is standing in its own as a small island, and we are doing well. So we do have a lot in common. And when I was in Brazil, the eating habits, the food, I felt at home, and this was nice. Apart from Brazil, in that part of the world, in that region, there are other countries in that part of the region that really and truly we share similar. And I wonder why it took us so long to establish that bond, that relationship with Latin America, Central America, South America. Those countries are so close to the Caribbean. We have so much in common. We can assist each other in so many different ways while we advance ourselves. Unfortunately, we have fortunate or unfortunate, we are finding ourselves in North America and Europe, really and truly, because I guess maybe access to transport and airlift and all those other things may be a little bit easier. But the agricultural sector in that part of the world, I think it lends itself, most of it is tropical, it lends itself to helping each other. Grenada grows a lot of crops that are similar to that in Brazil. And if we can establish that relationship in terms of improving our stock material in crop production, improving our stocks in livestock production, this will help as well. So I think what we'll be fortunate ahead in terms of going forward, we are part of AICA, we are part of CELAC, all those regional organizations. I think Grenada, the time has come that for Grenada to really register its presence in those organizations, and we have a lot to offer in the Caribbean. We are maybe the leading spice producer in that part of the world, and I think when I consume the foods in Brazil, it's very spicy in some instances, and I see a trade could be developing there, though the spice product is not that perishable. So you can maybe go to Miami and get down to Brazil in quick timing. So those are opportunities that lend itself to we forging the kind of relationship that we need to forge ahead.
Fantastic. What is the situation of food security in Grenada today? We today, within the meeting in ICA with the other Caribbean ministers, agricultural ministers, a lot was talked about as of opportunities to combat the food insecurity, but mainly reduce the food importation bill. What is your view? What is the situation now in Grenada?
Well, yes, Grenada is a victim of the high cost of food prices coming from abroad. I heard the point from the minister from St. Vincent this morning that Grenada may not have difficulties in terms of the availability of food, right? But because we may be producing enough, but the way we produce food, it is that seasonal. So at one point in the year we have lots of fruits, and the other times we don't have. And this brings the question of how do you preserve the food that you have this season to go into the next season. In North America, 6 months winter, 6 months summer, and you might eat apples throughout the year. In Grenada, you may not be able to get mangoes or breadfruit throughout the year because it comes in seasonally. We cannot consume all, and the rest goes to spoilage. So having access to that food when it's not in production is a crucial issue. And this in itself poses a challenge in terms of food security and accessibility to food. So this is something we are quite aware of. And there are other foods that we consume a lot of, but we don't produce. So it has foods that we produce a lot of, but we cannot get it when we want it. And there are other foods we don't produce, but we import a lot of it. Things like chicken. We only produce about 6%, 8% of the chicken that we consume. And Grenadians are addicted to chicken, especially the young people. So that in itself poses a problem. We want to reach a position whereby we can produce enough so that Grenada will be self-sufficient in poultry production. Apart from the poultry, we consume a lot of beef, small ruminants, sheep, goats. All those foods are foods that the Grenadian people like, but we do not produce. Very small quantities that we produce. So the bulk of the foods are being imported. And therefore, when you have things like COVID, when you have things like the war in the Ukraine, and the vessels cannot come, the aircrafts cannot come, then our people is under serious threat of food insecurity. And therefore you have to wait. The external shocks that occur does not augurs well in terms of going forward. So we are in a position now where we submit ourselves to the CARICOM 20 reduction of the food input bill by 25% in 2025. We are part and parcel of that, and we want to go beyond that because we are in a position now that if we save on the exportation of our foreign exchange, that the little that we generate, then I think it augurs well for the development of our country.
Mm-hmm. Well, the CARICOM food bill establishes that there is a reduction of imports by 25% in all countries that are signatories of that bill by 2025. That's in about a year and a half.
In a year and a half. Yes, we are aiming to go in the direction. As I speak now, we have a $10 million project rollout at this point in time, and we are aiming at dealing with some of the main issues in terms of improving and increasing food production. We want to establish what you call agro-processing units, where we, in other words, some people can now preserve some of the foods that are seasonally. We want to invest heavily in storage facilities, whereby farmers producing tomatoes, because they have excess. A lot of it, maybe 50% of it, goes to spoilage. Wow. So if they can store it and allow it to use a little longer, the agro-processing will, a lot of these tomatoes can be converted into tomatoes ketchup or paste and be utilized. So we will not, we may not get there in 2025 per se, but I think what we are doing in 2025, we will have the foundation well established, so that in 2 or 3 years going further, we'll be able to meet the target quite easily. Because I'm going to tell you, Grenada was there before, and because the political will was not there, a lot of the farmers got frustrated. But in a population of 110,000 people, and you have over 10,000 farmers who are directly involved in agriculture. And that 10,000 farmers may have an average of about 3 to 4 members of his family. So indirectly, you have another 40,000 people benefiting from agriculture. So you're talking about 10,000, 40,000, that's 50,000 people. And then 1 or 2 farmers may employ people. You have another 10,000, 20,000 people involved in agriculture indirectly. So and when you look at the scenario, with over half of the population involved in agriculture, there is no government that will be smart enough to abandon a sector of that nature. And therefore, our administration is paying a lot of emphasis in terms of encouraging people to invest in agriculture on the productive line and invest even more in terms of the processing and exporting.
That's a lot of investment when we talk about short to medium, time. And with the statistics that you gave, we're talking about a good portion of the population of Grenada involved in agriculture. And that includes, women, youth, the development of processing plants, storage facilities, a lot of infrastructure. It's a wonderful goal. Is there already a timeline with the process in order to develop that today?
Yes, so the way we see the development of the industry is that where we are presently, we are trying to lay the foundation, and hence the reason why we took $10 million from the World Bank. Very soft loan, 1%, 10 years grace period, over a 40-year period. Right, so we are hoping to lay the foundation, and once you lay the foundation, we believe that we can go forward. The whole question of if you don't feed your people, obviously, this is crucial. And apart from the farmers and the agro-processors, the people storing, you have the consumers. Mm-hmm. So it's not just the 60% involved in agriculture, the whole nation, because you have to eat. Mm-hmm. Nobody cannot say they're not involved in agriculture some way or the other. The food that you have on your table derive from there. So we believe that agriculture is from the seed to the tomato seed to the packet of ketchup to the consumer.
Mm-hmm. Not only the seed to the market.
No, not at all. That's just a minute part of it. From the seed to the market, you're really and truly not exploiting the true potential of the agriculture. Mm-hmm. Because take something like the fishing industry. The farmers will go there at sea, they make the catch, and they come back. The vendors are involved. The restaurants are involved. The hotels are involved. And this is how the agricultural sector has to be looked at. You cannot shortchange yourself by thinking of the farmers of the guys on the plantation, or thinking of the fishermen as the guy in the boat going at sea. It's a bigger industry that our past colonizers make us believe that agriculture is going on the plantation. Today, we have to think outside the box. We have to go further than that. The real fishing industry is the fishermen, the vendors, the exporters, the importers, the final consumer in Europe, and so the industry goes on. We in Grenada have a very important sector, which the cocoa industry. We produce the world's finest cocoa. Yet for all, we don't have the best chocolate factories in the world. The best chocolate factories in the world are in Europe, in Switzerland, in Germany. Yet for all, they don't grow one single seed. And as I made the point this morning in my presentation, we produce millions of pounds of cocoa, but we don't produce the millionaires. And we want to turn around the sector and get our farmers to turn from peasant, ordinary farmers into millionaires. Because the industry has that potential.
How would that be done in terms of technology implementation? Because when we talk about cocoa production, we're talking about quite a good produce with high value added to it when it's produced and when it's processed, right? Which is exactly what the European nations do with the primary product. And so besides that, you have a type of product which is also a very climate resilient product when it's well implemented in research. So is that, what are the technologies that are going into this type of development?
The technology we already have in Grenada, because we do produce chocolate. Mm-hmm. What we cannot do is to utilize all our raw material and produce the kind of chocolate. Mm-hmm. So at some point in time, if you are part of the business in Switzerland, you must talk to the Grenadian people. You must come to Grenada and let's have a talk. part of your industry must be in Grenada, so you could create more employment for the people. You can partnership with the business community in Grenada to be part of this fine chocolate that you're producing in Switzerland with our cocoa. I mean, you go to these factories and you see a lot of cocoa coming from different parts of the world. And then they take you into a special room and they say, you see inside there, this is a small quantity, this is Grenada cocoa. Air conditioned, well sealed off, nice facility because it is special. And we're quite aware of that. So we want to partnership and have dialogue with those people and make sure that Grenada gets the benefit that it deserves in terms of the cocoa industry and other sectors. The nutmeg is very important too because we are noted for our spices in the Caribbean.
Fantastic. But what are the priorities right now? We're talking about spice production, spice trade, also greens production, fruit production, cocoa production, and also you mentioned the importance of investing in animal protein by its various diverse possibilities. What are the priorities? Because in terms of investment, those lineages have different types of investment levels, yes. Right? When we're talking about protein production in comparison to fruit production or greens, right? So what are the priorities right now?
The priority is to feed our people, food security, immediately. Because we believe that despite our development in the spice production, our people, the taste that they have, which caused them to import a lot of food from different parts of the world, we will be on a campaign in terms of changing people's mindset. Because we want you to eat not only the bulk, but the quality. And we can produce the quality that you deserve. People must understand that the consumption of a lot of processed food is not good for the health. And you don't need to consume all this processed food that has been imported. Again, with the WTO on the world scene, and you have open market and free trade, it is a challenge. And people have to make a conscious effort to eat the food that we produce quite naturally, rather than eating the processed food that has been exported to us. It's nice to consume fresh chicken, rather than chicken that is a year old, has been frozen, defrosted, and then exported. And those things are issues. Those issues are issues that people have to be conscious of, and make a conscious effort in determining what you put inside of your body, because what you may want to eat cheaply today, because the quality food might be a little bit expensive, and you save a few dollars, but the few dollars that you have saved today would not be sufficient to take care of your sickness tomorrow. So the savings is not worth the while. So it's better to eat safe today, and you have a better life.
So but food grown
priority is in going forward is food security. But at the same time, we would develop a lot of the other sectors, making sure that they are export oriented. We can consume 2% of the nutmegs that we produce in Grenada. So we have to export it. We want to build that production also. We're going to export it. But at the same time, remember, we have a lot of other sectors to take care of. We have the health sector to take care of that doesn't generate any money. We have the education system to take care of that doesn't generate any money. But if you don't have any educated people and healthy people, there is no way you could develop anything. So our priority, health, education, agriculture. If those sectors are developed to its full potential, Grenada will be a paradise, as it was in the past.
As it was in the past.
As it was in the
past. Well, let's work for that. That's wonderful. Minister, I have a few other questions with regard to food security in line with the climate change. I know there's another ministry in the government that focuses on climate change, but food security also is intertwined, and creating food resilient agriculture systems is extremely important today, especially in a region that has a lot of sunshine, but also has a very proponent hurricane season, as well as looking at the interregional trade. What is the position of Grenada today? What are the plans to improve these systems and improve the trade in the region, which was so well talked about within the agricultural ministers of the meeting of the agricultural ministers of the Caribbean, and the necessity for there to be further interaction and intertwine the economies within trade?
Good. Well, climate change, we are very conscious in terms of what is happening around us. The agricultural sector we are trying to develop, we are trying to maximize a lot of the technology that is available. The way that we did agriculture in the past, without any knowledge or first-hand information in terms of degradation, soil degradation, we're quite aware of the cost of electricity and fossil fuel. We're also quite aware that the potential of generating energy by wind. We have good water system, hydroelectricity we can develop in the Caribbean. All those things we are exploring and see how we can utilize it. You do not want to put up a greenhouse now or a storage facility without exploiting the whole question of solar energy. The storage facilities that we're going to establish in various parts of the country will not depend on fossil fuel or electricity. It will be depend on solar energy. That is the direction. We are exploring the possibility of even utilizing solar energy on farmers' plot. The technology, they may not be acquainted with the technology or do not have the financial resources to really install the technology on the farms. Those are the issues we will be exploring and trying to exploit and seeking international assistance, because at some point in time you may have to give the farmers the kind of infrastructure that will encourage that. These are the kind of system that will attract the young people into farming. We want to we are suffering from an aging population in terms of the farming community. Well, most of the farmers on an average is about 65 years old. So you could understand what is happening there. The young people, we have to get in by the hook or by the crook into the agricultural sector, and going in that direction would be maybe the ideal scenery for them, and therefore we want to make maximum use of that. But the whole question of the climate change will and with the greenhouses, hydroponics, aquaculture, all those sort of things, we want to make maximum use of that and make sure that we.
Mm-hmm. And how important is the interregional trade for Grenada right now, and to improve this, not only to develop their own economy, but as it was discussed during this meeting, the necessity to exploit the possibilities in order for there to be a win-win situation for all the nations involved? Right,
yeah, and meeting after meeting, I raised the point that we have a serious problem in regards to the interregional trade. We have a transportation problem. We have an airlift problem. When I have to come to this meeting, I have to fly all the way to Miami to get here. Mm-hmm. Dominica is just a couple 100 miles away from us, and I have to go to New York to go to Dominica. And if I take a small vessel, I might be able to go up the water might be might be a challenge. But you have to go all the way to New York to get back to Dominica, and then from Dominica go back to New York to get to Grenada. Now this cannot continue forever. So those are challenges that we face. And it means that the airlift from Grenada in terms of carrying our natural products into Europe is quite easier than the airlift to bring it to Central America and South America and even our Caribbean islands. So these are some things that the heads of CARICOM are looking at, mm-hmm. and I'm hoping that they will come up with a solution as quick as possible. But as in regards to the environment, the climate, the food that we consume, we can all trade among ourselves and create a better environment and better countries for the people of this region.
But we're talking about political will and cooperation and trade that hasn't happened yet in so many years. What do you think needs to be established in order for that trade to take place?
Well, we have to revolutionize the sector, and that is exactly the direction we have to go in. We have to come to terms that now is the time when we have to exploit our resources in our interests and do not allow other nations to take advantage of us in this part of the world. And I think if you had the opportunity to sit in a meeting with the OECS ministers and listen to their discussion and listen to their plans, quite a few of us are young in the agricultural sector, and quite a few of the prime ministers are pretty young also. And I think what they want to do is to bring betterment to the people of the region. And they have the political will. The fact that we have 10,000 farmers in Grenada, those farmers have the will to remain in the industry. They believe that they can save their lives and their livelihoods by remaining in the agricultural sector and advancing it. Now, if you combine the farmers' will and the political will, we are on our way to prosperity, and we can get there.
Fantastic. Minister Adrian Thomas, thank you so much for the interview.
It was a pleasure.
Thank you.
Nice meeting you.
Para você que vem nos assistindo, muito obrigado pela sua audiência. O AgroAmérica fica por aqui e eu te aguardo no nosso próximo programa. Até já!